The Black Spider by Edmund Snell. Kamaga the Jap thought he could improve on the laws of God and nature. He paid a terrible price before he learned the truth. The fury of the storm had died down, but the Bataloa still dipped and rolled to the tune of an enraged sea god whose anger was gradually diminishing. There was a suggestion of dampness in the corridors and a constant rattling and shifting of the heavy weights overhead that was eloquent of the thoroughness with which the original labor of screwing, lashing, and stowing had been undone. Of the 200 or so first-class passengers, only two could muster sufficient courage to face breakfast in the saloon. One was a thin, dapper Englishman with a good-humored, weather-beaten countenance. The other was a tall, slim girl. The man, whose age might have been anything between 40 and 50, sat at a small table at the starboard side, his table napkin across his knees, studying the menu. He glanced up presently and caught the girl in the act of looking at him. Two forlorn people in a forest of white tables. It seemed absurd. "Why don't you come across here, Miss Selden?" he asked. "I hate eating alone." Bianca Selden flushed and smiled. "So do I. My companion, Mrs. Parrott, you know, is completely knocked out. I'd rather you come over here, Doctor. I don't think one notices the movement so much nearer the middle, do you?" Andrew Langley crossed over. "It was a wild night," he said. "Did you sleep?" She shook her head. "Not much." A sudden thought made her smile. "I suppose one oughtn't to laugh, but it really is too funny. Poor Mrs. Parrott was supposed to look after me, and I've been doing nothing but look after her ever since we left Southampton." "Not a good sailor?" "By no means. She was ill in the train before we embarked." Dr. Langley raised his brows. "I should imagine so. What did you think it was?" "A really bad one, I mean." Langley rubbed a spot on his chin that his razor had somehow missed. "The worst I ever remember, and I've done a few trips." He lifted his eyes thoughtfully. "Why? Fearful responsibility? Just what do you mean?" "Taking charge of me from Singapore to Mirabalu." The doctor relinquished his spoon and sat up. "I shall be delighted, of course." "Then that's settled. What an idiot Barry was not to tell me you were coming by this boat. It would have saved such a lot of trouble." "Barry didn't know. I was due back a month ago, but managed to get my leave extended." He surveyed her doubtfully. "I don't know that you're going to be altogether satisfied with this arrangement. I have no small talk, and my dancing is execrable." "You can tell me all about Mirabalu," suggested Bianca hopefully. "In about half a dozen sentences. Mirabalu is a wilderness populated by half-baked natives and Chinese coolies, with about 7 white men to look after them. There's not another white woman for 15 miles. The girl laughed. "What a charming description. If it's really as bad as you try to make out, why does anybody live there at all?" "That is a question which invariably crops up at about the 4th whiskey. The queer thing is that nobody's ever been able to answer it. Whenever a chap goes on leave, he takes a fond farewell of his friends, murmurs something vague about influence in a comfortable job at home, and drifts back to the same old area as soon as ever his time is up." Bianca frowned. "Then it can't be such a desperately bad place after all," she declared. "Would you like to live in England?" The doctor shuddered. "Not on your life. Do you know, Miss Selden, I believe there were only 9 days in the entire 7 months when it didn't rain." "There you are," cried Bianca triumphantly. "You men are all the same. You drink more than is good for you, develop liver trouble, and distort your outlook on life. Really and truly, I expect Mirabalu is a delightful spot, with glorious views and any amount of amusement to be had if one only takes the trouble to look for it." Langley smiled. "You'll find out soon enough." "I suppose I shall. Anyhow, I've fully made up my mind to enjoy myself." "You'll be bitten to death," said the doctor. "I don't care. Barry says you get over that. You'll be eternally pestered by a mob of disorderly young ruffians, each with a proposal of marriage in the back of his mind. I shall like that. And you'll be very unwise if you accept any of them, because your brother's bungalow is the very best in the neighborhood, the only one, in fact, with glass windows." He chuckled to himself and moved to one side to allow the steward to take his plate. You'll like Mirabalu. The life, the views, everything. Presently you'll be bored to extinction, and then you'll like it so much that you won't want to leave it at all. Mirabalu's an acquired taste, but once acquired, it sticks to you like a leech until... I see, said Bianca thoughtfully. But you didn't want to let me down too lightly at first. I suppose that's the line you take in your profession. You swoop down upon your unfortunate patient, send him to bed, terrify him with an endless list of probable complications until the poor wretch feels so utterly grateful to you for saving him from such terrors that he cheerfully sends an enormous check by return mail. The purser's steward, entering suddenly, stared around the saloon until his eye fell upon Langley. He came across to the table. Excuse me, sir, but Dr. Murphy sends his compliments and would like to see you in the cabin. The doctor glanced up sharply. Oh, what's the trouble? I don't know exactly, sir. I think he's got his hands pretty full. Wants help, eh? That's my opinion, sir. Bianca, who had been trying to see out of a porthole, touched Langley's arm. I believe we've stopped, she declared. Been stopped this half hour, miss, said the steward. Our wireless carried away in the storm last night, and we haven't been able to pick up calls. They've just brought aboard a fellow who was tied to some boards. The chief steward thinks he's Japanese, possibly washed overboard from the ship we passed yesterday afternoon. He was fully dressed, with a small box strapped to his waist. Is he still alive? Interposed the doctor. I believe so, sir, but he's in a bad way. Must have been in the water for hours. Very well. I'll come along now. You'll excuse me, Miss Selden, won't you? Why, of course. Isn't there some way in which I could help? Langley shook his head. There are plenty of stewardesses, he reminded her. Besides, you may have to look after your friend. No, said Bianca. They won't let me. Do send for me if you're short-handed. We're short-handed, right enough, put in the steward. All the staff that aren't sick themselves are up to their eyes in it. There's hardly a bit of china left in the kitchens, and how we're going to serve dinner tonight, I don't know. Well, be in Colombo tomorrow, said the doctor grimly, and nobody's likely to want much dinner before then. Let's see. Which way do we go? As he made his way down the corridor at the steward's heels, it occurred to him that Bianca Selden was going to be something in the nature of a disturbing influence in Mirabalu. For one thing, she displayed an enormous amount of character for a girl of her age. For another, she was a great deal too good-looking. For all his morbid description of the place where he lived and worked, he knew Mirabalu as a colony that was essentially masculine. Masculine in its outlook, its amusements, and its excesses. There was not a more amiable group of men to be found anywhere. And why Barry Selden had been such an unmitigated ass as to bring his sister out there, Langley didn't know. He wasn't in the least sorry for Bianca, for she could look after herself and was bound in any case to have a tolerably good time. But he was mortally sorry for Mirabalu. For some reason or other, he was feeling depressed that morning and was prone to regard Bianca and Mirabalu as one and the same thing. They had been perfectly all right up to now, but when she arrived, he found the ship's doctor in his shirt sleeves. He was a fat, broad-featured man with a Belfast accent and dark lines under his eyes which betrayed that he had been up all night. I hate to trouble you again, doctor, he began. Langley cut him short. Trouble be damned, Murphy. If you had the nerve to attempt to carry on without me, I should have been mortally offended. What do you want me to do? Have you had breakfast? I've had enough to carry me along, thanks. I don't mind betting you haven't had a bite yourself. Right. But I'm going to now. I wish you'd take that poor devil of a Jap off my hands for a bit. The steward here will show you where he is. I tell you, doctor, I never want another night like this. I've had 8 more fresh cases through my hands since you turned in, and I don't think one of them will live. Langley dropped a hand lightly on Murphy's shoulder. Get some food into you and try and close your eyes for a spell.